Happy Saturday, Robert.
Happy Saturday. Uh,
But we're going to kick it off tonight with some sad news here. But I forgot to mention you are listening to the podcast, Set Jetter Saturdays. That's not the sad news. But visit Robert at setjetter.com. It is the number one set jetting website on the planet. It's fantastic. And Robert, we lost Dabney Coleman this week amongst a few others. But let's start with Dabney. This is sad news.
it is, and it reminded me. He did a convention many, many years ago, and I was one of the Jersey ones, and I didn't do it. I was like, oh, that would have been good. Um, but yeah. So obviously, yeah, he was such a mainstay in a lot of good '80s movies. He was just always there. And not always playing the same character, but he always looked the same. So obviously 9 to 5 as Mr. Hart, there was like nobody can.
That's probably
th-
arguably his best role, if not his most well known.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so I feel like I probably need to give that a rewatch. On Golden Pond, so it's kind of reteaming with Jane Fonda.
Hmm. Yeah.
I assume,
Academy Award winner right there.
yeah, that's how. I think I'm gonna put him as, yeah, it was after 9 to 5. So,
Hmm.
um, people kind of forget that he's in that one. Obviously, it's kind of, when you
Yeah.
have Henry and Jane and Catherine, you
It
kind of get
eclipses
overblown. Yeah.
eclipses Mr. Coleman a bit.
War Games,
That's what
obviously.
I first know him from
Yeah.
as a kid. Was like, oh, War Games, and yeah, there he is.
Tootsie is probably one of my favorite movies ever, and he's
Classic.
just spot on for that. Cloak and Dagger with Henry Thomas is also one of my favorites.
Yep.
As you know, the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yes, I forgot about this one, but you're
The,
right.
the movie
Yeah.
is also one of my favorites. Reteaming with Lily Tomlin and Dolly Parton has a cameo in that. So we almost got the whole 9 to 5 reunion. So I did see, I don't think it's been released, but a couple years ago, I did see the Still Working 9 to 5 documentary, which he
Oh
he
yeah.
participated in. So I don't think it's actually been released yet, but I know there's a good Facebook page, but he is in that. So whenever that gets a broad released,
Yeah.
that'll be good. So, and I know you had some honorable mentions or two, and I do as well. Besides, but those are the ones I was like, you just think
No,
out the
that's
top of your
perfect.
head. These are the top Dabney Coleman movies.
He has such a great prolific body of work. And interesting thing about Dabney, I was reading an article about him obviously this week after he passed, and he was talking about how he's naturally very shy. He was the last of like four children, and his father, like there was some stuff going on there, and it was always such his like real life was the antithesis of how you usually see him as this like dominating, like very regimented character, and he was like just a shy guy, and he's just a really fascinating guy. Yeah, notable mentions, besides War Games and 9 to 5, the first thing I think of with Dabney Coleman is he played the Commodore in Boardwalk Empire, and oh, he was just so perfect for that role because he's a terrible human being, the Commodore. But you believe him, and he's scary, and even
Mm.
at the end when he was like feeble, spoiler alert, he dies in the show. There's a
What?
Yeah, he gets whacked out, but he's just so like, oh, he's so good. So Boardwalk Empire, and then you
Mhm.
have How to Beat the High.
How to Beat the High Cost of Living, which is also in 70s or 80s, I can't remember. So, and Young
Which
Doctors in Love.
Yeah,
Sm
which we've
sm
talked
small,
about before.
yeah, smaller roles and so forth. But and I saw some articles. I mean, I think he was in Yellowstone in an episode, so he was still going,
He's
and
great in
working away.
Yellowstone.
But
He's only in there for a second, but he's yeah, really, really good.
that's all you need.
That's all
So
you need. So yeah, rest in peace, Dabney Coleman. We've also lost talk about a really devastating week for legends was Roger Corman passed away.
mhm.
If you don't know who Roger Corman is, folks, Google that shit because there wouldn't be a Scorsese or a
Jack
Francis Ford
Nicholson.
Coppola,
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson. He is the king of B movies and really just set so many. I'll let you talk about it, Robert, but he just set so many people on the right path. This was a really important guy to film.
Yeah, he's the yeah, anybody that's worked for him. and obviously they always have tons of stories and how, for better or for worse, how cheaply he worked, and that's, how that's why a lot of people got their start or kind of got their first kind of leg up in the industry because he took a chance on them or he hired cheap. And that's why a lot of first chances came from Roger Corman. But yeah, you see all the tributes that poured out uh, uh, after he passed. And yeah,
Hmm.
uh, his actual films that he did didn't always make, obviously they're not always the ones you remember, but like you said, the entire Hollywood, kind of owes him a debt of gratitude. So, and
Yeah.
he had a nice appearance in Silence of the Lambs as
Hmm.
I can't remember, was it the big FBI director? I can't remember
Yeah.
now, but yeah,
Yeah. He was the director.
which was nice. I remember, I think I saw his name in the credits before as the first time. I was like, what? Like, what's he
Oh,
doing in
yeah.
here? Yeah. And there's been some clips kind of going around of, people had been talking, and this is an older clip of Jack Nicholson, but he was like hiding his face because he was starting to cry, which I don't think I've ever seen
Oh,
that
no.
that
Oh, I gotta find
that
that. Yeah.
actual piece of Jack Nicholson, because Little Shop
No.
of Horrors, I think, was his first on screen or kind of major on screen through the thanks of Roger Corman. And I think he's the same thing. It's like people owe him their entire careers.
Yeah. He really set the stage for a lot of folks. And his movies too are fun. He's criticized a lot of them too, and some of them rightfully so. But some of his movies from the 50s, the effects are very cheap, but they're still that cool. That's why they call them like the King of the B movies. They just have that cool, like cheap, like low budget kind of feel to it, and they worked. They worked for a time. And yeah, so rest in peace, Roger Corman. We also lost Susan Backlinie, who is in arguably one of the greatest opening scenes of any movie, Jaws, of course.
She made, obviously, we talk about, or people talk about, like, you don't see the shark, and that's kind of legend now on reasons we didn't. But that opening scene was, I think, intentional, was never supposed to show the shark. But talked about somebody that sold it, uh, which was her. Obviously, I don't know if she was a stunt woman or actress or just, it's always been a combination, but her opening screams are always chilling.
Yeah, yeah. So always chilling. And I know one of our guests, Gabe, who owns the Spicy Shark, who's been on the show, met her a few times and just said
Mhm.
she was just such a nice actress and still doing her thing. And I mean, if you're gonna be in an opening scene of any movie, like it's Jaws, everybody knows you, you know.
Yep, yep.
And then Susan Buckner has passed away.
Yep. So for most, and that's what I remember is obviously, Patty Simcox from Greece. The bad seed of Red Ale High.
Riddle High. Some great lines in that movie too.
But then I was also looking, so she did a lot of 70s stuff. And I actually met her at the Hollywood show, and she was like super sweet and
Oh,
nothing that she didn't look like Patty Simcox at all to me. But she has an uncredited role in Police Academy 6, City Under Siege.
oh,
So
really?
sadly, she won't be at the Police Academy reunion
No.
this time, but I'll have to go back and find her. It says uncredited, so probably the whole cast is uncredited. They don't want to be a
Yeah, at this point, they're like, yeah, we were deleted scenes.
yeah. Oh, sorry
You were
about
on the
that.
cover,
So yeah,
deleted.
and then Bernard Hill, who
Yeah.
obviously I know him best for Titanic as Captain Smith.
Yep.
And then of course I had to do some Googling because I'm like, well, how old?
Yeah,
Like
how old
I
was he?
well, I had to look up. I was more curious, like how old was he in Titanic? I'm older than he was when he was in
Oh,
Titanic.
well,
Yeah.
those English, they don't age the best. I'm sorry to say.
But yeah, so he's born in 44, so whatever math that is.
So he was 54 or 53 in Titanic or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, so at least if they filmed it a year before, even younger than that. But I think he was 80 or about to turn 80 uh
Yeah.
when he passed away. So, but I just
Interesting.
assumed, he was older
I did too. Yeah.
back
When I
then. So
saw
yeah.
that, I was shocked that he was that young in Titanic.